Hey traders, Raghee here, and probably the most popular question I have got in my inbox, and it probably is well over 5 or 6 dozen questions, is what's going on with the Bitcoin futures, and did that have anything to do with this week's meltdown, and are they tradable yet? You know, for traders especially who are asking me about, hey, I don't want to stay short Bitcoin, but on sell-offs like this, was it tradable on the XBT? Now, I haven't traded the BTC, the full-size contract yet. It's only been, trading this week. And it didn't have the same kind of 5-minute action that the XBT did. Now, in this recap video, I'm going to tell you about what the differences are between the two and why I prefer the XBT for more day trading and why it's probably ideal for retail participants. And here's why. First of all, BTC, the product from the Chicago Merc, is a 5-coin contract. So it is expensive. It's a pricey contract even at the, 44%, 40-some% margin requirement. On the XBT, this is the CBOE's offering. It's still a whopping 66% initial margin requirement, but it's 1 coin. So it's less money to trade. And, I'd rather you trade multiple XBT contracts for the same amount of margin you would lock up for a single BTC because it allows you to scale in and scale out. Okay, for most retail traders, the XBT is going to be a better day trading vehicle. And I'm emphasizing day trading because I don't want anybody going into the XBT thinking they're just going to hedge or short this contract on the daily time frame. Number one, we just don't have enough data to have a technically merited setup. I think even on a 60-minute time frame, you can play some nice longer-term plays. So the question was, Raghee, can you short the XBT and how did that behave during the meltdown? Well, take a look. Here's a 1-hour chart of XBT. And let me remind everybody, I'm going to be doing more of the Bitcoin futures trading. I wanted at least a good 2, 3, 4 weeks of the XBT, look at the rhythms of the trading day, get some better studies before we start to do this. And, by after the new year, I think that'll be plenty of data. And I've seen what I needed to see. Probably within the first 3 or 4 days, this contract impressed me. I can't say the same thing about the BTC. But in terms of enough liquidity to get in and out of the market, all you need to do is take a look at the open interest. And for most traders who just want to day trade this, I cannot emphasize this enough, it is pretty decent. And then you look at the volume. Now, we're not going to get open interest yet, but just good habits, right? Let me show you the volume here. And you'll see there's enough. There's not a ton of it, but if you're managing, I'd say easily what I've seen, if you're playing under 8 to 10 contracts, no problem. And I don't think most people are going to be playing 8 to 10 contracts of this. It's still pretty expensive. And so the next thing is, what are we looking at in terms of trading something like this? It's the same thing we would look at in any currency futures contract, because that's all that this is. It is a futures contract of a currency, which just happens to be a digital currency, not a fiat. And you'll notice there's a rhythm of the trading day. I think oftentimes you'll see a lot of volatility in the Asian session. We've seen a lot of that happen on the crypto exchanges. But once this thing starts moving and trending, you can see the clarity on the grab is excellent. And that's really what I'm looking for. Is there a rhythm that's emerging? And there is, and I'll talk more about that going into next year. There is a rhythm that is emerging. And I think I do trust, especially when I look at this 5-minute, and that was a 60-minute chart. Here's a 5-minute. I do trust that I can play some of these moves once we start to break certain Darvas levels. Look at the adherence of the Darvas. It's pretty active. If you're looking for something you want to day trade, this might be exactly what you're looking for in order to capitalize on the volatility that's happening on Bitcoin. So I wanted to give you guys some price action, because this is something that many of you may not have pulled up this chart to take a look at. I think the price action is clean. Notice on a lot of crazy gaps. Notice on a lot of crazy wicks, considering their value, right? 13.9, 17, but not a lot of crazy wicks and gaps, which are things that from a risk management standpoint, we don't want to see. So far I'm impressed. I'll be watching this one again in the chat room, and in come January, heads up, because we're going to start watching the XBT contract for intraday Bitcoin volatility.